Hello everyone, welcome to a new video on the channel. Today we are doing something requested and it is looking at this little guy here. Recently I did a mid-year flip through of this journal and my reading journal, and I was requested on that video to have a look through this one with you all because I didn't really touch on it, and some people wanted to know why I have a pre-planned journal when I use the bullet journal system. So let's get into it. So this is my year-long reading journal for 2025. It has all the information in it that I want, from challenges and little things at the beginning that keep me going for the whole year, or we can go all the way into here and look at the monthlies where I just store all the information down about what I read every month. And the reason why I have this wee guy here is I am a recovering perfectionist, I guess. I'm probably still too much of a perfectionist to say recovering, but I am someone who likes to have things look as cohesive as possible. So when it comes to every single month, I want them to kind of look the same. And what I'll end up doing is batch a lot of stuff in this journal, because you guys are seeing this journal a lot. I share this on Instagram. I really enjoy the artistic side of things, but it is also a functional space and I like it to look pretty. I'm just going to be very forthright and say this one has to be pretty. It is a functional space, but also I put enough effort into it and I'm sharing it with you all online, so it needs to be pretty even if I make silly little mistakes in calendars like this one. But this kind of level of keeping it cohesive doesn't just happen. It's not something that I can keep up with every single day because I am a true Gemini. My handwriting, as you'll see, well, you would have seen already in this video, changes a lot. We've got it upright in June, and in July we've got it slanted, so any given day or mood it will change. And so where this little guy comes in handy is I get to be as messy as possible in here in order to make this as cohesive as I can. Obviously it will never be 100%, but it is a pleasure of mine to see it all look the same, and it also helps me a great deal with my other challenges at the start here, so I can fill this in very quickly. I use it every single month for my Days Read Pixel. It is a huge blessing when it comes to this. I'll talk about that in a moment, but first let's look at what this little guy here is, and I'm going to have to zoom you in because he's really tiny, and we need to see the details up close, right? That's a little bit too close. Right, so I just grabbed a really cheap student diary. It's from Kmart, the Anko brand. I'm sure you can find them in your country or online. They're very affordable. I think I paid maybe $4.50 for this, and it is pre-planned. It is the only pre-planned journal I own because I, as you can see, use the bullet journal system for my reading journal and my everyday journal. So this is a really handy little thing where it just has enough space to write down whatever I need when it comes to my reading. So this is this week here, and I'll just talk you through it really quickly. At the top of every week there's this little section here that says this week's focus, but I use it just to jot down a tally, and I color code it because it makes it really easy for me to look at it at a glance. And this is something that I turn to almost every single day, if not multiple times a day. I use it when I'm wrapping up, I use it when I'm setting up. Everything gets put in here. So when it comes to utilizing this system, it is something that is quite personal. Now, I was actually shown this system by a wonderful creator called Amanda over at 𝓬𝓼𝓮𝓷𝓭 on Instagram. I have mentioned her on the channel before. I absolutely love this concept. I have adopted it and I have promoted it really quite vocally, and I'm just so in love with this. So if you're on Instagram and you want to give another journaler a bit of love, Amanda's Instagram will be in the description below. But where this comes into being an absolute joy is I can be as messy as I want. Obviously here I am not too bad, but like it can get quite scrappy in here, and it can look quite messy, and I don't care if it does. There's even some times where I've gone and put washi tape just for fun. Sometimes I will doodle around the top because I'm listening to an audiobook and I'll just randomly start doodling. But to walk you through how I use it, and some people use a notes file on their phone, and that's wonderful, like you wouldn't have to use paper that way, but for me, I am definitely someone who learns by writing things down and remembers by writing things down, so I prefer this method. And I have the little tally up here color coded with started, finished, DNF'd and sampled. Now I tend to not color in the DNF or sampled because I only use them when I have one of those, but for today's video I went ahead and color coded it so you can see what those colors represent. And we're going to fill the rest of this in together, just so you can see how I utilize that. So for example, here we've got some acronyms. I'm just going to bring you in a little bit closer, of book titles. So I'm currently reading Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent, and that is what DONW stands for. And then I put the percentage of the book that the amount of the book that I read that day. So if I started that book, which we have here, I started a book on the 8th of February, sorry, not February, the 8th of August, and it was Growing Memories, so GM, and then I put in brackets ST, so that means start. And at this point, when I would be filling it in, normally, I would have gone ahead and color coded that, so then I can immediately see when I'm wrapping up the week, or if I need to have a look and see when I started a book, it's right there. When I am filling in information for Instagram, I can turn to here and go, oh, that's the day that I started, because this blue will trigger my mind and show me that's where I started that book. Again, we've got some on here that have been finished, so the yellow color quickly shows me that I have finished 4 books this week. Now, this is really handy to me because I use these 2 colors and the same pens in my financial journal, so I know those colors off by heart. So you don't have to use blue and yellow. I just chose those 2 because they're colors that I don't necessarily use a lot in my Mildliner set, and I wanted to use them, and so that really helps me utilize those pens that are just sitting there otherwise. So those colors are like ingrained in my brain for what they represent. One means start, one means finish, and I utilize it here because it helps me to acknowledge that very quick information. Obviously, when I finish a book, there's a bit more information on the page. I finished an arc by L. Ashwell called Forget Me Not, and that is why we got the little fin there. And here we have the star rating in a circle. You can see I've circled the other star ratings when I have finished the book. I then put the page count, so I can use this information very quickly when I'm doing Instagram slides, when I am filling in other information either in my journal or on digital stuff, because yes, I have multiple places I am that person. And then I also have the name of the series and the number in the series if there is a series attached to it. Over here you can see that I also have extra information on this one because I was reading it as a mixed read. It was an arc I got behind, but thankfully the audiobook came out at the same time, so I decided to read it with my ebook as well. So I did add in that information of how long I spent reading it. Now this is a very personal number because that is not the actual number of hours. I think the audiobook was 20 hours long, but because I listen at 2.6 speed, I put down the amount of time I personally spent in that book. Other than that, that is pretty much how this is mostly used every week. There is one thing that we have not yet done on this page. Well, there's actually 2. Oh, there it is. I put my pen on the other desk. So obviously we have the tally, so I've started 2 because we're going to put another one in a minute, and I finished 4. So I just put that up there very messily, and then down here I decided that we'd fill this in together because I have started a new book today and I have to try and remember the acronym because it's extremely long, and I'm also very behind in some arcs because I got unwell. So here we can see on my screen there, the Nanny's Handbook to Magic and Managing Difficult Dukes. So of course we would go in, we put a dot, we put 𝓤𝓛𝓲𝓷𝓭. That is an extremely long acronym. And then bracket, start. And I'm currently reading it, so I will not be putting down the percentage today until I'm finished, but we've got that written down, and I tend to do that right away when I pick up the next book. And we will now put a little bit of blue over that so I know that that's there. The other thing that I use in this book here, let me zoom back out, is at the start of every month. For some reason I've just done this I've been using the system for 2 years now, so I always put new month, it's either in pink or orange, I don't know why. It's just, I guess, a little trigger to see it on the page, because obviously the pink is not normal, so it stands out. And on here, on the last day of the month prior, I put 3 things. I put IG, YT, and percentage. And this is something that I use for filling in this journal here, which is my reading data journal, and I have a page right here and a social media tab right here. So that information there has not yet been added in because I haven't done my wrap up, but you can see previous ones have, and so that information there will be added into these books, so I know what I started the month out on. And I also, for the percentage side, so we've got the Instagram numbers, the YouTube numbers, and then for percentage, it just goes into here. So my percentage at the end of July was 91%, so I would just put in a line for 91% and colour it in here. So that information is really handy to me, and I like to have it there because I know where to look for it every single month. I know where it is. The other thing that's on this page here is a little dash, and that is because I didn't read that day, which has unfortunately ruined the trend that I had going on. Let me zoom out a little bit. Sorry, it's a little bit chaotic with a little book than a big book. With this one here, which I said that I would return to. So as you can see, this is my Days Read Pixel, and I always have this at my side. So when we would go to fill in July, I would come back to July in the book, which is here with the little tab. I'd find the 1st of July. Here is the information for July from that start that you could see that was already in the book. And then we would start here, and I can mark down on July's list here. I read 3 books, so 3 is represented by this red colour, and that box is going to be red. And so I just sit here and go through every single day. It's very easy, very quick to look at, and because I have it colour coded, this one here is to represent the days that I finish. That's why it looks spotty. It's the days that I finish a book. And so we can see here on the 8th of July I finished 1 book. So on the 8th, on this side here, it'll have a little purple box. Again, when it comes to August, when I go to fill in that portion of August, I will have a grey box here for did not read, and then we'll see how it goes for the rest of the month's trends. But that's really handy to me, and again, I don't have to keep looking towards a screen. My computer does turn its screen off when I'm not utilizing it, so I wouldn't have to keep reaching for a mouse. My computer is that way, and I'm looking down here, so it's just easy to have this right here and filling it in, as opposed to continuously turning to the write and having a look at the computer. Does that sound a little bit first world? Yes, but equally this is being productive by having something here instead of constantly turning to a digital device. I could also have my phone here and have that information if I tracked it that way, but again, phones turn off, so that's why I prefer the paper method. The other way that I utilize this is obviously when I mentioned I don't fill in my journal every single day, so I will come into July, since we're still looking at July, because I haven't filled it in yet and finished it. But as you can see, I would have had this to the side here, and I can track because of the wonderful little colors that we've got here. So say we followed, let's see, on the 3rd of July I started up here upon a starlit tide. It says it started, so I would come to, where is it on here? It's this dark purple color, so you can see all the way through there is upon a starlit tide, and I was able to follow that through here because I knew I started it on this day, and then I could read very quickly the percentage to see, oh yes, I read that day. Sometimes there'll be gaps from when I read something. Example, I've currently reading, sorry, I've just finished 𝓚𝓮𝓮𝓷𝓿 Academy, but I needed to finish some other books first, which makes no sense because it was an arc, but okay. My way of being this last week has not been great. But as you can see, 𝓚𝓮𝓮𝓷𝓿 Academy is here, but it's not on the rest of the page, and I did finish it on the 9th, but I started that last month. So you can see AA, so it's all spread out. So on the calendar, it's going to have little gaps, but the color will represent that. And the way that I would have been able to find that information very quickly is by using this to be able to fill in this visual guide. And I do like this calendar format, so that is important for me to have. If you don't have this need, you might not find this helpful at all. And then I also utilize it for when I am filling in my reading log. So as you can see, currently my reading log has not got its covers on yet because I have not done my wrap up. I'm going to be doing that video next, and in here I've obviously stored the information down. The only thing that I won't have down is the author's name, but I tend to remember that. I don't know why I don't put it down. If it's a new author to me, or it's one that's hard to spell, maybe I will have written that down somewhere, but generally I don't need that. So if we look at 𝓚𝓮𝓰 here, and then we look at where we finished it here on the 22nd of July, I've got thin 4 stars, so easy, I can put that in, the information's in. I've got 459, so I've been able to put down the page count. I also had 6 hours and 18 minutes. That's how long it took me to read the audiobook. Because I've put down a number for reading time, I automatically know it's an audiobook, so that information can be filled in. And I write down the series name, so I was able to put that in very easily. Obviously, because I've been staring at the audiobook, I already knew what the author's name was. So the only information that I fill in without prompting from here is the author's name and the genre, and that is pretty much it. It's very helpful, and it keeps me from having to fill in information all the time. As you can see, I have yet to fill in the information here because I left this for us to do together. I now need to remember which pen was the one for July, since it's already in August as we do this. I think it's this one here. What I tend to do is I'll just put it on, I'll put it on a piece of paper and then match it up. So the last book that I finished in August, and I'm just going to have to move my tombos because the book is too wide, is a favourite of mine. So I don't really need this, but we'll use it anyway. And we'll go to July the 31st because that was the day we finished it. Here is the information right here, and we'll put in Emily Wilde's, oh, that's what I get for filming and writing at the same time, encyclo, that's not how you spell encyclopedia of theories. That was very terribly done, but it's done now. And then I have to remember which pen was for green. I think it's this one here. Yep. And then we've got the author, which is Heather Fawcett. The series is Emily Wild. #1. The page count should be 315. Yep, that's correct. It's very sad that I know that off the top of my head. And because it was an audiobook, I'll put a slash. Well, actually, I mixed read it, but because I used an audiobook as well. 4 hours and 42 mins. The date. I read this. I did it as a buddy read. It was my own that I hosted. So we started on the 25th of July and it went to the 31st of July. The format was mixed. And the genre is fantasy. Some would argue that it is romantasy, but I will put fantasy down there. And then we will obviously now colour it in, and because I already put it down 5 stars, I know from my own colour key that 5 stars is this colour here, and I can now put that information into the book. It is now done, all because I have my pre-planned journal beside me with all those little notes in it. And that is how I utilise it. So it's either at the start, the end of the month, when I need that information, or when I'm filling information. Obviously I'd filled in everything else except for this one last book because it was the very last day of July, and obviously I now need to move that back. Obviously on here I have still got some more to fill in, but I'm going to be doing that for the wrap-up video, so I won't do that with you today. It's also unnecessary information for today. But that is how I utilize this little guy here with my planning for my reading journal. Like I said, I like to keep things as neat as possible. Obviously writing in that title was not neat. It works out easier for me to batch information into my journal, whether that be in one fell swoop in a couple of sessions. It just depends on the mood that I'm in, but overall I really enjoy this system. It works extremely well for me. I like having somewhere where I can just jot down whatever I need and not have to worry about how it looks, because I do film this for you all, and I also really want to keep it as neat and cohesive as possible. So if you are interested in doing this method, please let me know. If you have any more questions about it, happy to answer them in the comments section. And until we next meet, I do have 2 other videos that have been requested. One on how I do the covers for these, how I print them out, how I know what size to do, and how I format that. I am doing it on Microsoft, not Canva. That is a system that I personally use. I think I may add in a little bit about Canva at the end of in the video. I think I filmed a little bit of that. I also have been requested to do a walkthrough on how I make the, let's go back a month. Sorry. Where are they? How I make these little format stickers on a Cricut machine. So if those are something that you would like to know more about, please look forward to them. But before those videos, I will be doing my July wrap up with you all, because it is a little bit delayed. Thank you so much for your patience while I have been a little bit quiet on the channel, and until we next meet, I hope you have fun journaling and reading, and I'll see you soon. Bye everyone.